Welcome to Shatterproof, the Auto Glass Journey for Independence podcast. This week's episode, Solo Act, what it takes to run a successful AGR business alone, with guest host Mike Stevens of Sika, an auto glass entrepreneur and an overall good guy. If you haven't already liked our podcast or haven't subscribed, like this episode and hit that subscribe button below, so anytime we update the content, you'll be the first to get access to all of this great media and industry information. So, let's get into the show with your host, Gary Hart, and guest host, Mike Stevens. Hey, everybody, it is Gary Hart, and welcome back to another episode of Shatterproof, the Auto Glass Journey for Independence. Today on the podcast, we've got Mike Stevens. He is the current Sika rep for, what is it, Mike? Arizona, New Mexico, and that little sliver of Texas? El Paso
yes,
still?
El Paso, yes, that's it.
So is El Paso separated from Texas at this point? Did they just decide, we're out, so...
I don't want to speak for El Paso, but what it is I'm closer than my Texas rep. Chris is just outside of, man, he's going to kick my butt. I think just outside of Dallas. He's in Canyon Lake.
Okay.
And I think me being in Goodyear or in Phoenix area, I'm closer than he is. So, wow. And plus it's only like 30, 45 minutes away from Las Cruces. So, I mean, it's an easy drive.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, that's a weird little carve out to just have that little nook of Texas, and everybody else is like, yeah, well, we're over here. Too bad.
Yeah,
good
I think
stuff.
That's a consensus. It's too bad, really.
Well, that would be like saying, you know what, we're only giving you Lake Havasu, and the rest of Arizona is going to go to a guy in like Oklahoma. I mean,
right.
It's always impossible. In addition to being a Sika rep, so you came up in the industry, you were auto glass entrepreneur, ran your own business. Is that correct?
I was, yes. I ran my own business from 2007 to 2020, right at the end of 2020, basically. And then right when I started here at Sika. So yeah, started off as a subcontractor and then subcontracted probably for way too long, but then eventually started seeing the benefits of doing my own stuff and really pouring my energy into my own stuff. And then it flourished and yeah, so it was, I have a pretty good story to tell for maybe some of the guys who are in that same boat, who were just being comfortable is bad, doing a little bit more every day. And then you can be more successful just getting outside of your comfort zone, just working a little harder towards that goal,
So when you got started in 2007, what kind of guidance did you have? Did you just wing it? How did you know where to get a business license or how to buy glass? I mean, how did that all start for you?
To be honest, it was totally winging it. I had some guys. So Eveready Glass, who is here in the Valley, at that time was pumping, man. They were really pumping out a lot of work. And a friend of mine, Jeff Wheeler, he was the sales rep for them at the time at the Indian School location on 24th Street or 26th Street, I guess, area. And he said, hey, we're looking for subcontractors. I know you're working for somebody in the Valley. And if you want to come, get your own. He knew I had my own truck because he was my neighbor. He actually lived like a couple houses down from me. So he saw what I was doing and he knew that I was a hustler. So he offered, he basically just said, hey, you can come work for us. It's so much a piece. And that was it. So after that was subbing and no, I had nobody to tell me how to do things or get set up. So I was pretty much relying on the internet and asking questions there and finding out the hard way. Really, I had to change my name because there was another Mike's Auto Glass, real original, going down from Mike's Auto Glass. There was one in
not AAA or quadruple A auto glass, just Mike's Auto Glass. And who knew that there'd be 90 Mike's Auto Glasses in a 15 square mile area? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, good old Arizona Corporate Commission,
Yeah. And I went the legit way. I wanted to make sure, because I had read up enough or went on the internet and found out enough that, this is how the hurdles you go through or what red tape you got to go through. So I followed along. but I did jump ahead on my name. So then I had to go redo all that. But yeah, to be honest, there wasn't anybody really pointing me in the right direction. It was trial and error, to be honest.
And then so you jumped right in. And so the nice part is a lot of people don't get to have subcontracting work. They're actually marketing, hoping the phone rings, hoping something comes in some form of advertising. You were organically getting work from another auto glass company, which helped you get your footing, know where to pick glass up, how to fill things out. Really you were getting a crash course training, if you will, thanks to another glass company. Whereas in today's marketplace, that's probably very similar. A lot of people are rolling out of their corporate gig with an AGN or SafeLight or somebody like that. And now all of a sudden they find themselves furloughed, or even worse, they just decided, hey, I can do this better than the company I was working for. And then here they are, asking a billion questions on social media. So do you think that was one of your bigger advantages that you had over most of your competitors, is that subcontracting gig?
Yeah, I think so, because I mean, for me, subcontracting was the way to keep the bills paid and the money coming in, as I was able to, let's say, save up to buy an Audi windshield for my neighbor, who's running through my company, and me not being able to, get paid right away on it, so it was that cash flow, and it worked great. But I got to say, in the first few years, I really paid a lot of attention to my subcontracting and not so much my own business. I would put that on the back burner. If I got a call in, I would, if I had to do a 3-way call, then I would say, hey, let me call you later today, or when I have some free time, or after I'm done with this job. And either I'd forget, or the customer would go somewhere else, or just something would happen to where I would lose it, or I just wasn't pouring my time into it. And I got to say, though, subcontracting really did get me where I had to be, but I didn't move forward fast enough, I think, because I wanted to slowly just do my own stuff, and not anybody else's. Because after a while, I subcontracted for probably a good 10 years, and towards the end, I just felt like I was working for someone again, because those
many different bosses.
Exactly. And then I got to a point where I only was down to like 2-3 companies, because that relationship was so good. Like after 10 years, we knew each other well. I didn't have to chase my money. They knew if I asked for a little more, they would help. There was a give and take really there, and I built a good relationship, and which is great now that I still keep in contact with those companies now. In fact, some of them are now my customers. So it really all, there was a silver lining here. It all opened the doors to now, but. But I've met plenty of subcontractors who are fine. They want to be there. Right there is where they like being. They're comfortable there. They're not interested in running a business and answering the phone all day long and managing people and parts and, and all this, everything that goes with it. And I respect that, For myself, I wanted something a little more. And I noticed as soon as I poured into it, was tough. It was like taking another risk, like quitting another job, saying, hey, I can't take those 5 jobs from you today. I'm sorry, Mr. Auto Glass Company. I'm really going to go try and sell my own stuff today. And as soon as that ball started rolling, man, I regretted not doing it sooner. And that's like my message to when I run into these guys now, I say, pour as much as you can into now, because it will flourish. It will benefit. It will make you more money. It will be more successful,
So it sounds like, too, one of the tougher things that you have in the beginning that almost every single tech 2 entrepreneur has is that war chest. Like to your point, the ability to go to distribution, buy what you need, and then wait that game that the networks or insurance companies will pay you on, which we know that cycle varies from maybe a few days up to 60 days. So now all of a sudden you're out of pocket. You're not used to carrying the debt, and that's what I come across a lot when I'm talking to smaller shops that are just starting out, is, letting them know you just can't have like $2,500 or a $5,000 Capital One card ready to go, because that's going to be gone with, 10, 20 jobs, just like that. Yeah. And, paying all the bills, getting everything done.
if you're relying on social media advertising, you got to pay that up front. And, that is the true struggle. Was there any other struggle that you found yourself in the beginning, education or industry support that was real, something that you remember real vividly?
Yes, I would say definitely with education part, like with the position I'm in now, there's a lot more I learned coming here to Sika, actually, and with that, I installed for 25 years before doing this. And so, you would think 25 years in, it all, right?
Right.
Well, coming over here, and I was like, wow, there were some things that maybe I should have been a little more thorough on and just learning more, so I feel like now that's what I want to do, is pour back into not only the big shops, but the subs, the independent guys, the guys that don't have brick and mortar, because they don't have guys like me coming into them, knocking on the door saying, hello, hey, I offer, certification services and stuff like this. If I'm not at the warehouse at, let's say, in the summertime between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m., then I'm going to miss a lot of these guys, so I focus on those, trying to do tabletops early in the morning, doing some sort of events that I can gather the independents, the guys. And it's not, I don't mean just the independent, I'm talking about the guys without brick and mortar, subcontractors, right. Independent guys.
Yeah. Guys that are just running out of their vehicle all day. Yeah,
exactly. Because I was that guy. And I know there's a ton of us out there. There's a good little network of guys that I know that they just operate out of their vehicles, So education, I think, is big. Struggling with getting glass, yes. I would say these guys, if they had some sort of capital, definitely, or credit card. I was very, very fortunate with. These are one of the benefits of subcontracting for so long, is that I built such a good relationship with some of these glass shops that they would help me. I could buy, with their power, and then they would take it out of my checks or something like that. I was very fortunate, to have that, but I think it's because of what I built, the relationship wise, is the reason why. I know they, some of these places won't do that for some of these guys. You got to be trustworthy, of course.
Well, and plus you're such a nice guy, and you run a hell of a bead. I mean, like, watching you run a bead, I would fall asleep. It's like ASMR almost, like, and then watching you just go, yeah, and it's like, yeah. So I mean, the people you were doing jobs for obviously had to have recognized your mad skills, and they were like, we send this guy out, his jobs stick. He doesn't have high warranty rates. He's not running off with tools and a bunch of stuff. Honesty and networking are key in this, and if that's where you're starting out, it's hard for some guys who worked for maybe less than stellar glass companies to shake that owner's way of doing business off of them, getting the stink off of them, so to speak. So, and I'm not sure in this day and age how many glass shops are going to extend their subs credit, but I'm sure that still happens out there. There's got to be some nice guys still that are doing that. Definitely.
I think there definitely is. Some of the shops that I used to do work for, they're still around too. And I see the way they treat their subs, but it is definitely a two-way street. I definitely ran my business, or the way I want to do glass, like a white glove service, white glove treatment. I wanted you to feel like the car is cleaner after I'm done with it. My setup was very clean. I'm pretty anal about being organized, and it just makes it more efficient, makes it look more professional. That whole gig was it was part of it, so I think that, and also I try to run a business the right way too. Answer my phone, keep my warranty rate down to a very minimal, show up on time. It's these very little things that I used to tell myself that, man, this is, I knock on wood and every other cliche thing to say, that I try to run a tight ship as far as keeping everything in order the way customer would want it. So I feel like there's enough guys out there were screwing up that I could easily shine. All I had to do was just answer my phone and show up,
Right. Oh yeah.
So, I mean, it it's not hard, but it's also not easy as well to be repetitive and keep doing it and building, so
well, and answer that phone with a positive attitude as well. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've listened to recorded calls, either through court cases I've been on or whatever the case is, and I'm like, wow, that's somebody who should never answer a phone, because that customer's never going to come back, or if they do, they just love abusive relationships. It's just amazing. And I think technology has played a big role too. Like when you look back 3 to 5 years ago, a lot of people were still paying for text messaging. So asking a customer to send pictures to you cost you money. And I'm still blown away by the number of solo operators that, they're tied to that mobile phone 24/7. There's requests coming in, there's text messages, when there's a lot of other technology that's out there that makes you look like you're a bigger operator, that you have an after hours IVR, something that answers your phone, sounds professional, cues customers in the right direction, puts it in your point of sale software. But we still see it time and time again that there are people out there, these Apple Bluetooth, microphones jammed in your ears, and you're out there and you're like, yeah, what do you want? Whoa, you're setting a windshield and answering a call and giving a quote. And then you just tell the customer, here, text the same number you called, text me your VIN and a picture of your windshield. I can't think of anything colder to ask a customer to do than the work you should be doing in the first place.
Yeah, you are right. But that is that struggle. And now you just brought up a great point of what I did struggle with as a sub, answering my phone, trying to keep my business, trying to answer the calls of the glass shops coming in. If I can take work tomorrow or an add-on today, was someone to answer the phone. My phone I hated it. I hated it every time it rang. It's because I'm busy. I'm a worker. I'm out there. I'm putting the windows in, and so I did try to bring my wife on to kind of help relieve that, and it did work. But she was going to school full time at the time too, so I want to say that probably my number one struggle was someone to answer the phone, because I wasn't at the point where I could hire somebody or had the time to train. So some sort of like call center, and now I've met people now who do all these things now that I've been in this role. But I think it was exposure to those things that I didn't have, or I just didn't know it was out there, or I was just too busy to look into it, like maybe call you and say, hey, do you have some sort of service that can help me? I almost thought that too. Like I was too small to be able to take advantage of a system like, eDirect or any of the other systems that are out there. I felt like, I'm so small, I could just do it myself. It's manageable. But it wasn't. Now that I look back, I really could have used a service, really so I had more time to get more. I think I was just barely starting to see that as my business was growing and growing. And then right before I came to Sika, I think that there was a crossroads for me, and the Sika was one of the moves. Is either I was going to pour more into my business because recalibration was starting to blow up, and so I was like, all right, exactly. It's like, am I going to dump another 20 grand, into my business and grow? I mean, that was the minimum, was going to be 20 just for the system. So that means I may possibly have to bring on another guy, and now I got to bring in someone to answer the phone, so I was at a crossroads where I was going to grow or I was going to go a different direction, and so I chose this path, to kind of explore. Don't tell Mark this, but I always felt like that I have this to fall back on. If I ever need to go back to installing, I definitely can, or managing a business, or, something in our industry as well still. But I really do love what I do now, because I feel like I coached a lot. I coached my kids a lot, growing up. And so coaching, I never knew it, but I really love doing it. It's kind of a passion of mine. So this role is perfect. I get to teach and coach these guys and seek out the coachable and really take them under my wing. Because I've met a handful of guys, more than a handful of people who really are accepting and want to learn and want to get better. And I love that. That's the part of my job that I love, is that I can see that turn,
Well, and you just brought up a good point that still that plagues the industry today is even in your role with Sika now, you have to seek out these individuals, people to get trained, to understand where there's resources. And it's to that point you had before, is your head was just down in your work. The phone bothered you. A lot of things were there. And anytime you did have a break, it was probably with your family and not like, where do I go for this and where do I go for that? And it is a challenge in the industry. I know, like the Auto Glass Safety Council, the AGR, we struggle to get the word out there, and using the suppliers and partners in the industry to that effect. I believe Sika does probably the best job in the industry as far as outreach goes. Hands down, I have not come across another organization where there is more FaceTime and more training and resources available through you and Mark and all the other reps that are out there. And it's one of those turning points that when somebody does engage with you, their business does dramatically change. Not only are they getting the latest tips and tricks and certified on your products, but they now have an outlet to be better. Because I'm pretty sure the second you do a demonstration, you've intimidated the hell out of an entire room of people going, man, I want to do glass like Mike does. And that's great, because then they go back to their work and they're like, how do I get better with this? And it is a challenge for the industry. And at the same time, I feel that it's contentious sometimes between independent glass shop owners, these guys that are solo, and organizations like the IGA or the Auto Glass Safety Council, because they don't immediately see the benefit of membership, and which is community, which that plays a big role today. And granted, you can go to Facebook, join a group, and all day long keep asking the same questions that 200 other people before you have already asked, because you don't use the search button, or you become, a professor of YouTube University, and great. But that doesn't take that human approach. Being able to sit down in a room with you, come meet you at a supplier, see the products, understand what's going on, and even just ask, hey, Mike, I'm in this position. You work with a lot of shops. What could I do better? Who can I talk to? Do you have a phone number, somebody that maybe can give me some information? So, I mean, do you see, if you could do it all over again, what would you do better, or would you seek out more information? Something that the guys coming in the industry now, or those that feel stuck, can go, aha, that's a good point, Mike.
Number one thing I would do first is call or get in touch with the representative for whatever brand product you are using. I mean, either it's urethane, or it's your system, your point of sale system, or it's your glass supplier, whatever you are doing business with or you're handling with, get in touch with a rep, because we can make such a difference as far as helping information, certification. Like, let's say it's one of the glass suppliers, one of the distributors, getting in touch with your pricing, having a contact for things that are kind of out of the norm, a return, some freak accident, defective glass, stuff like that, reaching out with your supplier, even like CRL, having, in touch with CRL, because they have access to all kinds of different clips and stuff that maybe some of the other suppliers don't have. So I think getting everybody you do business with, get in touch with some sort of contact. I think that would be one of the first things that I would do if I were to go back into business, especially now that I know all these people, so it's really good just to know, be in relationships with everyone. You should have every shop reaching out to you, reaching out to guys like me, but I mean, I think that, and then just, asking more questions. But I see like how difficult on our end it is to try to get exposed out there. Like, the pushback that we see online every day, like I want to help so much. I feel like that maybe it comes across as, when something's too good to be true, you kind of put your defense up, and you're like, okay, then what's the catch? But with me anyway, there is no catch, man. I'm just trying to help. I want to see everybody.
Right, yeah. We're vessels of information. I mean, that's what it ends up at the end of the day. I mean, I may not have 25 years experience installing windshields. A majority of my background is in technology, but I also have plenty of training with people. I understand businesses. I'm a serial entrepreneur. My wife and I have started multiple businesses. We know the ups and downs, the hardships, and especially in the glass industry. I've been in this industry since 2001, and I've seen it all. And I've been privy to backroom conversations that'll make your stomach churn. And it's still amazing that I could bring a topic up online and all of a sudden, to your point, 25 people just think you're selling a product, you're pitching something. And it's like, no, there's a better way to do it, because nobody else out there is offering something like this, but here's a way to do it. Or here's 3 ways to do it. For the love of God, just pick one and put your faith in it and off you go. That's what you have to do. So it's almost like the independent side of the industry today is its own worst enemy. It's turned into the independents eating the independents almost, which I can't fathom. And that's why I always say, if you think you're reading something differently online, my number's out there everywhere. Google my name, there's my phone number if you can't find it on the IGA website or something, and just talk to me. But what I won't put up with when you call is, I'm not going to listen to you rant for an hour about Safelite, or links, and you can't get authorization, you haven't been billed, because we solve that problem by just go online and fill out forms, and we have an automated method to do that. So that I struggle, and this is a pretty good question too, is where do you see the industry in the next 5 years? Because I'm struggling to see where a solo business owner, maybe husband, wife, son, or some kind of family based auto glass business is going to be at in 5 years.
Man, it's really hard to tell with the way technology is kind of starting to take over. I feel like auto body shops are going to start moving into our industry more because of recalibration, and I think they're bringing in guys now who are full-time glass guys. So I think for some, I just feel like the auto body world is going to start blending into us a lot more. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, and also with the recalibration, kind of this gray, unknown, unspeakable area about being outside, and all this too. So there's a lot to kind of still, I think, peel back, because we're still stepping into this new technology. But as far as auto glass, man, I feel like we're going to see more brick and mortar shops coming back. In fact, I feel like that's starting to happen already, especially in our market. I got guys who are growing brick and mortar ways, not just, technician size, So I think we're going to see maybe a little more of that, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's a good point you bring up, or a good topic, is recalibration in what is a controlled environment. And this is something that we all struggle with in meetings, in Auto Glass Safety Council meetings, committees, sidebar at shows, and even just if you happen to be able to corner a calibration tool manufacturer or an OEM for some fortuitous reason and say, hey, what's the definition of a controlled environment? And they say, well, it's documented, which is true. I mean, and that's the thing I struggle also with getting glass shops to understand is the OEMs do have procedures in writing, and you have access to it all day long, albeit it's a subscription. And yes, you probably have to pay $1,200 to $1,500 a year for it, but that's just another business tool you'll need to ensure that you're doing it right. Now, with that being said, we both know lots of people that perform these recalibrations outside. Partial sunlight, full sunlight, 38 degrees, 95 degrees, different vehicles, different targets, different systems, and they all calibrate. Now you'll have the people that'll argue it really didn't calibrate. Now all of a sudden they're an expert on OE data, and the tablet just miraculously said 99% for shits and giggles, and we're just going to leave it at that. So I mean, it's tough, and these businesses think, okay, well, if I'm going to get, I don't know if the term legitimate business is a good way to put it, but like if I'm going to attract good quality insurance work or dealership or body shop work, I have to have brick and mortar. I have to have, all these expensive targeting systems and every target. I have to do, not just forward facing camera, but all aspects of it. And I think that's where body shops are going to trip themselves up, because anytime I've been to body shops in the last 12 months, it looks like a mini war zone. They have no space to do anything. And especially like some of these places up around Raintree here and some in Central Phoenix, their lots are just overflow. I drove by Penske's Collision the other day in South Scottsdale, and man, there's at least 150 vehicles waiting just to go through production in their collision lot. That's amazing. So now all of a sudden, these guys thinking they're going to get into recalibrating and have the space for it and have the manpower for it, they're going to definitely sub it out.
Yeah.
But we'll see what Boyd Group does, what Gerber does. How well can they scale and integrate it into their business?
That's true. I heard that was it Glass America was going to, maybe it's Glass America. They were going to start having, separating those shops. Like there's still one in Tucson that is still connected to a body shop like there was up here, and then they're separating. But I think Gerber, you're right. These body shops are pouring. There's, cars pouring out of them, especially at the one up in Raintree. Jeez, there's cars along the highway there. You can't park there, Yeah,
I've never seen so many cars in an area lined up, and just this around me, that 20 square mile area, North Scottsdale Air Park. Like, it's like everybody in the valley just brings their cars there. It's the weirdest thing. It's just crazy. But yeah, that recalibration thing, if people are still struggling to figure that out. There's a lot of solo techs, to your point. You were at that crossroads going, I have a minimum of 20 grand that I have to be in for. And now I also have to take into account, if I have to calibrate and do installation that day, I can only do half of it, because I have to now fill my vehicle with the targets, with the recalibration solution, and the rest of my work. So now you look at, to your point, you were maybe looking at hiring somebody else, splitting it up. There's another vehicle, that's more insurance, that's gas. Your overhead just scaled dramatically. So it's never just 20,000 or 10,000. And even if you're looking at a solution like AirPro and their Augie or whatever it is, where at least you have a hotline always to go to, it's not just going to be your acquisition price. You still have all those other concerns, because you do have a case to take around. You still have those things that's going to take 2, 3, 4 windshields up, and it's going to be in your van or your truck. And if it's in your truck, better hope you have room in the back seat, that whole backside. So that's why I'm the 5-year vision for me. It's kind of that. And it comes back to the independents are almost their own worst enemies, because at a time, any other point in history, now is the time for the independent community to come together and work on all of these things as a community that include billing and getting the insurance companies to stay in their lane and understand why, billing is such, and there's so many things that auto glass shops bear the responsibility but don't get paid for, and that's never brought out into the open. And everybody would rather just come on and say what's wrong, but not just say, hey, how can I get involved to solve it?
Right. How can we fix it? Like, what did Minnesota do that we can't do here in Arizona to keep, I wasn't around when all that happened, but I know that my counterpart in Minnesota, he was the president of the Glass Association, like Minnesota Glass Association or something like that.
MGA, yeah.
And so, and they took over. They made it so, the insurance companies couldn't do what they were going to do, and they set pricing. We need to do that here. We need to there's enough business here for everyone,
Absolutely. And one of the things, Minnesota kind of got lucky on a couple different levels. One, the warden was out of the jail at the time the inmates decided to riot, is a good way to put it. So while there was this other whole thing going on in another part of the country, Minnesota kind of snuck in the back door and convinced enough people in legislative action and whatnot that hey, here's the pricing survey, here's what it really is. All the shops, to your point, came together and said, we're all, this is the way it is. And then because the warden was out, they were able to push things through and it became law. And once that became law, well, now they're used to surveys and things of that nature. But for all intents and purposes, they're getting nags plus 120%.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that is whenever I'm questioned in bringing my expert opinion on invoicing and pricing, I just point and say, well, non-network pricing is Minnesota. That's the standard that's been set. And so if you're a non-network shop, you do not participate in network pricing at all for any insurance company. You whatever you want to choose can be up to at least nags on 120%. If you go over that, that's your problem. But at least there's case that shows that insurance companies are paying that and don't have a problem with it. They don't get sued. There's no suing that happens up there. So yeah, it's a difficult thing because we look at the opposite of that now in Florida. So everybody who thought Florida was the Wild West and they were out there with sales reps and charging $5,000 for a windshield replacement, $2,500 for a static calibration. Well, look at how the law changed on them. The policies are written down now with nags with 60% off, labor fixed at 85. And recently now the insurance companies have now positioned themselves starting 2024 that recalibrations are set in the policy and that you as the auto glass shop can't sub it out. And if you do, there's this whole process to go through. So that capitates these guys that were out there, really taking advantage of the system. So it's yin and yang because we see it here in Phoenix. And I've posted a couple times. You drive around, there's a little sign saying $350 cash back for your windshield replacement. And yeah, that's, there's going to be people that take that because they like the cash grab. But we know it's not $350. It's probably more like $125 or less. And that brings me back to the industry is its own worst enemy because there's not enough people coming together as a community to say, hey, enough's enough. We have to understand how to set fair and reasonable pricing without collusion and understanding that we send our text to maybe Equalizer's Auto Glass Academy or Auto Glass University, Bob Baranek set up. Or, they send them through training anywhere. Maybe send them out, they take a morning off and say, go with Mike and whatever it is. That's still time off the books that costs money. Shops need to start, I think I can't do it for them. Everybody always says, what have you done, Gary? What have you done for the industry? And I'm like, I go like, I guess I'm supposed to fix your problems. And duh. I do the best I can, which is never enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to see, I mean, I wish, and this is the thing, I wish I had so much time and that time and money to get something together, and try to get at least a meeting together to get these guys and we can get all on the same page and, see what it takes to kind of make some sort of difference. I know it's been attempted before, with a couple of other guys in the Valley. But I don't know, I don't know the details of why it ended the way it did or where it ended up going, so.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of states that could be in play right now. Wyoming, Colorado, Arizona, Texas, the Carolinas, there's plenty. But anytime somebody starts to get into it, they position them for themselves. Mm-hmm. The what's in it for me and not what's in it long term for all of us. And that's really how industries fix themselves. Is they realize that it's fortuitous for everyone to come together rather than just the kingpins are over here. The guys that are like, I have 40 vans that run around, so here's what I want, and I want to still give rebates. Well, okay, you can't be the outlier and still give rebates when 98% of everybody else is saying, hey, this is something we can easily give up to gain something better. Right. And, but oh, no, I get all my customers that way. And then you challenge them on it. Do you? What's your cash labor rate set at? Oh, wow. How do you even pay the bills? You start peeling back that onion And it becomes a horrific experience at Outback Steakhouse where you're just like, the hell is this thing? It's a bad deal. So yeah, I mean, I think the independents, and that's one of the things that are they doing their part to make things better, or are they doing their part to make things worse? I'm leaning on the side of worse more than I am like not. They're just keeping the status quo, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think we are kind of digging ourselves slowly into the the negative end of it. I feel like I feel like this is how it goes. Turn of events. We beat ourselves up, and then something will happen. And then we kind of start to build again. It's like the groups that we're in. They started off as a certain way to be like a water cooler, kind of a place to vent and get things off your chest, and then it turns into like a roast fest, and you can't even ask a serious question anymore, But I mean, those groups are pretty great examples.
Yeah, you mean like, when are you going to go to Migrant next to help them clean their dumpsters up, right? Here, let me chime in on that, Mike. I got an opinion on that.
That was
no, but funny. I mean, but it's the same. But it's the same thing. It's like that again. That was a way that I was just saying, hey, if I can reverse poke some fun at it, I'll raise the number of people up that read this, and maybe enough people go, just to spite Hart, I'm going to go out there with a broom and I'm going to out clean up, because that guy's an a-hole, and I'd be like, great, I did, I did my job. I killed him with kindness, and that didn't even work. That blew up in my face. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Not one of you just wanted to go out to spite me. Jeez, and there was donuts involved. I mean, I figured they'd want a donut and some coffee, but shit.
I think
I mean, it's just like when I ask them to come to a meeting, or come sign up on the IGA for $9.95 a month, and you're going to have access to library. You can call, you do all this stuff, and $9.95. And I'm like, I know you spent that at QT or Starbucks or somewhere in a day or 2 days easily. But you're saying $9.95 a month is going to break the bank to be part of an organization where if you actually just read some of the stuff and participated, we could be making the industry better.
Yeah.
So, or it's just like, why don't they reach out to you when they think something's wrong with your product? No, they go right online and go, Sika has microscopic air bubbles 3 ways of the tube down, and you can't, and it makes my battery die. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why there's so many people know. I mean, almost there's like 10 reps I could count on the groups that they know you're on there, but they do it for, I don't know. And that's why I lean more on their own worst enemy. We're not status quo. It's literally a soapbox now for people just to go, I'm not being listened to right now. And it's like, yeah, you are. Just call Mike up and say, Mike, I think I got a bad batch. And you'll go, no, here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Done. Or if it is bad, you'll take care of it.
It's true. I mean, we just, to be 100% honest, we just went through a little hiccup with some things. I mean, I'm not, hiding anything, because I was transparent with all my customers, telling them, hey, this is what we're experiencing right now, and we're going to get through it. So just give me a chance to make it right. And thank God that all of my customers here were 100% understanding, and we're going, I mean, it wasn't this big deal. It only lasted maybe about a week, but to me, that was a big deal. It's pretty much the first time I'm experiencing with this role some sort of, small issue with the product, and now I need to shine. I need to make things right. I need to live up to everything I've been saying that I'm going to do, and it wasn't tough at all. I mean, I needed to do what I needed to do, and I got it done. And nobody's perfect, but.
Well, just always remember, you can fall back on Flex Seal. Flex Seal fixes it. I mean, you just goop that on wherever you need to. It comes in different appliques. And you know what? No problem. Just, it's just for short term. Customer will understand,
That's what I tell them. I say, hey, if all else fails, use this stuff right here. No, but yeah, it's I
don't know why you're even screwing wiper nuts back on. Just Flex Seal them back on. Not that's going to hold that in place better than a nice Flex Seal. I mean, it's just done. Just there you go. You don't have to worry about carrying around 9-10 millimeter sockets anymore. You just goop it on and done. And in fact, I think Sika should just come out with an aftermarket product that you sell in a smaller tube that done.
Yeah. Just,
and then let the next poor guy have to like strip it all off to
that's
the wipers.
You know what? Sometimes you see a little bit of that work out there. You know, it might there's a market for it.
Yeah, just make sure when you're signing that handiwork, you use one of the other nationwide competitors, so that people glom onto that and go, see, look, it's their crappy work. Yeah, it's crazy out there. Well, just kind of in closing, I mean, a couple things too with Sika. Thank you very much for all the work that you and Sika do for the industry. It's very refreshing to work with a company like Sika. And it's shocking that in my role, how little the other adhesive brands actually get involved with the IGA. Don't know why it is. I'm a very approachable guy. I'm tall. You can spot me in a lot of the shows. It's not like I hide. But I really do appreciate everything Sika does. And, we saw the ultimate. What's on the horizon after the ultimate? Any cool things coming up, or are you doubling down on more training, or what's going on at Sika?
We're changing a couple things, improving some things. We're improving our activator right now. We've have an activator that is currently testing higher adhesion rate than our black primer, our primer 207. So that's wonderful for guys who love clear primer. We're making some improvements to our P2G line, our primerless line. Of course, we have the ultimate, but we also have two other primerless products, and we're making some improvements there. Especially in our area for high heat, we want to have something that has a little more body, something that it performs better in the summer, let's put it that way, and performs all year round as well. So yeah, we're making some minor tweaks to some stuff. Hopefully by next year, like even maybe towards the beginning of the year, we'll be having these products ready to be cool. Do some field testing and get some out there in the hands of some of these guys,
Nice. And now, any chances of rebranding a lot of these to other band logos like Van Halen and the Ultimate? I mean, I'm kind of thinking like a good Def Leppard ripoff, maybe. If you want to throw it out at the next marketing meeting, or just raise your hand and say, the industry loves the rock band logo looks. I mean, maybe that's something to think about.
I think we're gonna do more like the Guns N' Roses, style.
Okay, yeah. Next time. There we go. Yeah. And then you could even say like the tagline is "Welcome to the Jungle," and it would be so apropos for the industry. It's like something like that. Yeah. Because I remember, I mean, when Ultimate was just first starting to get kicked around and some of the sample stuff came out, I remember Mark O'Brien and I having a discussion about it. And I'm like, yeah, no, that is seriously, Mark, no doubt. You're right. That's like Van Halen. Like if I were to close one eye and look, I'd go, oh man, I get a free Van Halen record with this. Download, stream the latest tune or something. Yeah. But it's anytime a company comes out with something like that, you got to poke some fun at it. So,
yeah, absolutely. First thing when we saw it, as the first thing we thought, we're like, well, dang. Well, either this could go two ways. Either it's going to cause a lot of attention, and Van Halen's going to do a cease and desist on us, or and then that'll bring some great exposure. Or that's the first thing we thought was look like the Van Halen symbol. But
well, that's great. I mean, it's good timing because they got to. Sammy's bringing his band out on the road next year. Very excited about that. A lot of great people backing him on that. That's going to be a great show to go see. And you never know. Maybe the primer logo pops up in the middle of it, and everybody's like, "Oh, I only want Sika on my car. That's it."
I'll take it.
Mission accomplished. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, whoever back corporate's like going, see, you just have to have my long-term vision. Yeah, one of those things.
That's what we say. I think somebody was a genius back there working it, so I'm pretty confident that's what it was.
Well, any closing remarks? Anything you'd like to add? You got the floor. I mean, this goes out to hundreds of people at this point, but we secretly know thousands of other people, like on LinkedIn, also peek in on this as well. But what any last minute advice or anything to the industry going forward?
I would say just, for the solo guys, the guys just starting out, I was there, just try to do, my motto for myself was just get 2% better every day. Just try to do something a little better every day, a little more every day, and it will add up. I could say that, after being in the industry or being a technician for 25 years, I didn't see it the first 10. The first 10, I thought I knew it all. And then 15 in, I thought, man, I didn't know anything at 10. And it just kept growing, and as long as you can just get a little better and be passionate about what you do, care about it, and imagine that your wife, your daughter, your family member, your grandmother, anybody's driving that vehicle that you're replacing, and you want them to be safe in case of an accident, just trying to really put yourself in the position of customers and treat everybody like their family. And like to say, other than that, if you need some information on Sika, definitely reach out. You can reach me. We can add my phone number, I guess, or something.
Yeah, we're going to put all your information here at the bottom. Just everybody look to the bottom here while you're going, oh, look at all these lovely comments that people are writing. And remember, if you see any of your competitors responding during business hours, that's good for you, because if they have nothing else better to do than be on social media or responding on any of the comment areas, 7, 8 o'clock at night, that's good. Better if it's 11 o'clock at night, because they're already, a little tipsy and angry at the world, but that's okay. But yeah, definitely all of Mike's information, Sika contact information, and just, hit up Mike's email if you have any questions, and it doesn't even have to be Sika related. Michael, when he has time to get to it, I'm sure you will. And definitely, I thank you for that, because that takes some of the load off of my plate. So, and considering I'm still bouncing back from that whole open heart surgery thing a couple weeks ago, any help during the holidays would be great, So, Mike or Mark or any of these guys that are out there, hit them up for a little bit. But I will be seeing everybody in Huntersville, North Carolina, for Auto Glass University coming up on December 7th and 8th there, Thursday, Friday. I'll be part of the Lunch and Learn, so we'll see everybody then. And then we are participating in the CIC conference. So speaking of collision, the IGA will be at a CIC in Palm Springs in January. And then also, too, if you have never been to an AGSC meeting, it is open for guests and visitors. That is coming up in Tampa. We'll also make sure the dates are there. And that's also in January, later in January. So lots of involvement. If you're in the Palm Springs area or the Imperial Valley out there, drop in on a CIC meeting. Definitely, too. I know Auto Glass University is full for this, but Auto Glass University's information is also here. Go sign up. And if you find maybe Auto Glass Academy is closer, go see them. Go get trained, or take Mike and Sika up on their training. Touch base. I know a lot of you have helped shops out before. You've gone out of your way to go help shops right the ship, if you will, because they were just in an impossible space, or they thought they were, and you went in and you worked your magic with a few people, and always good to see. So, Mike, thanks for being part of this. And
Gary, I want to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this. Thank you for doing this. I feel like that more of this, and like what James is doing, bringing back some of these podcasts, getting some people there who have questions or who have the answers, because I think the more we help each other out and get more exposure, the better we all will be. But I wanted to say especially thanks, to you, but I'm glad you're doing good. I saw you the other day looking good and
feeling good. Good. Day 19 right now, man. On Thanksgiving, we'll be 3 weeks out, and I'm shocking myself. I think I'm shocking my doctors more than anything else. But yeah, and to that point, everybody has a different feeling on podcasts, so that's great. But that's why James has his out there. Corey over at the repair company, he's got stuff that he puts out. Let's see, Chris and his Drift Chris and his whole organization. It's that's somebody else you can go to for resources and to pick up the phone. And I know he does training. He'll go out and train on recalibration and stuff that you buy through him, and even stuff you don't buy through him. He'll still be happy to answer the phone. So definitely, keep all of these in your toolbox. listen.
Absolutely.
Everything's going to be a little bit different. You might not like the jibe that we have, but maybe something sticks out that James has to say. So, just stay involved and keep a fair ear open when you're because
I talk to Chris regularly. I talked to James well yesterday because it was his birthday, but I talk to these guys. I'm networked with them as well too. So that way, when I do get a question, then if I can't answer it, I'm asking one of them. You know what I mean? Like, I've been out of the game since, let's say 21 now. So there's been some changes, recalibration, and newer cars in this. So there's some questions that I can't answer. But yeah, if anybody has urethane questions or Sika questions, that's great. But anything else, I can help out. If I can, I will help as best I can.
Yeah, and speaking of James, I think I got the better deal. He got a couple watches, big deal. I got that killer Ultimate Sport shirt from you in Tucson, and I still love that thing. And the sweat just wicks right off of it, And I'm just thinking, James, you got the watch. That means you have to either give up your Apple Watch or, But I was at first I thought I was going to be jealous. I thought it was a Rolex or something he got. And he's like, I don't know what it is, but it's a really cool watch. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have the shirt, James. And I didn't have to go to the Olympics to get this shirt. I just had to show up in 110 degree weather, stand around for 4 hours. And and Mike's like, hey, you want this cool Sika shirt? I'm like, yeah. Right on. Well, again, thanks, Mike. I really appreciate it. You've been listening to Shatterproof, the Auto Glass Journey for Independence. This was Solo Act, what it takes to run a successful AGR business solo. And join us in a couple weeks where we start talking about the CSR training we've got coming up and a sneak peek at the March show for the Independent Glass Association taking place in Las Vegas. And we will be announcing the Auto Glass Games. So this is a whole new format where you'll have East Coast, West Coast qualifiers and a championship that will be happening in Dallas in October. So stay tuned for all that good stuff. Again, Mike, thank you. Thanks, Sika. Thank you for everything you do here in the Phoenix community. We certainly appreciate it. So take care, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to Solo Act, what it takes to run a successful AGR business alone, with guest host Mike Stevens of Sika. You've been listening to Shatterproof, the Auto Glass Journey for Independence podcast, brought to you by the Independent Glass Association and me, Gary Hart, your host. If you haven't already liked this podcast or haven't subscribed, like this episode and hit the subscribe button so that anytime we update the content, you'll be the first to get access to all of this great media, industry information, and more. We also would like to thank our sponsors of the podcast, eDirect Glass, who is also the maker of Glass Part Match, which is free to the industry. So get your account today at www.iga.org/GPM. And Augie by AirPro, that amazing on-the-glass targeting recalibration system, allowing you to work anywhere with the support you need to succeed. You can find out all of the links referenced in this podcast in the description or comments below. Again, thank you for tuning in and supporting the IGA so we can continue to provide quality information, educational materials, and more for the independent automotive glass industry.